Imagine to my surprise, after finishing Holyland, to find out that the author was cool with Mayura, the author of Berserk, and not only that, they were childhood best friends. Morikoji and Kentaro Mayura meeting in high school, both being aspiring manga artists, they quickly became friends. Morikoji having some family issues which led to him being kicked out, he would then spend some nights sleeping at Mayura's house. And it's crazy to think that the first couple works that Morikoji submitted failed to get serialization, which led to him falling in a deep slump, which he would spend most of his days wandering around at night fighting people, which makes this manga even more real and makes it so much easier to connect with it, knowing that the author is self-inserting his real life experiences into it. Knowing that everything you see in this manga is a reflection of his life growing up makes it so much more enjoyable. So in this series, a space exists between the adult world and the kid world called the Holyland. And in between this space, we find our main character, Yu Kamishiro. In the world of Holyland, the nightlife is thriving with gang members and violence. In the first chapter of Holyland, we can see that people are fanning over this thug who's apparently expanding his territory and is really strong. And they question whether this person, Masaki, could beat him in a fight. And somebody responds, "You idiot, Masaki boxed in inner high, it'd be a joke." And we can see these group of people, Masaki included, discussing how he wouldn't be a problem and how he looks super tough, but he's not worried. And meanwhile, we can see that the person they're talking about, Yagi, he's apparently bullying some kid. And the panels are flipping back and forth between their conversation and what Yagi is doing. Masaki says he's average, he's so slow he wouldn't be a problem. And somebody around him asks him, "Really, is boxing really that powerful?" Masaki asks him, "What would you do first if you got into a fight?" He responds, "I guess I'd hurry and throw a punch." Wanting to see for himself, Masaki asks him, "Why don't you try it on me then, real quick?" And as the person is winding up their punch, Masaki quickly throws a punch out, stopping it before it hits their face. Masaki tells him most people pull their arms back when they think about using all their power. They pull it back like they're using a bow. And it cuts back to the panel of Yagi bullying some kid. And while Masaki's dialogue is still on the screen, it's still showing a panel of Yagi and the kid he's bullying. And Masaki says there's no step 2 when it comes to boxing. Everything happens in a second. When your opponent raises his fist, all you need to do is step forward. And as Yagi is about to punch the kid, Masaki says, "And throw your left fist out at the same time." Using Masaki's dialogue to explain what's happening between the kid and the Yagi, we can see that the kid has punched Yagi with his left fist. Masaki then explains that once you punch them with your left fist, you pull out and then you punch them with the right at the same time. And it cuts to a panel of the kid throwing a complete haymaker at Yagi. Masaki then says that's the basis behind boxing a 1-2 punch. It's easier said than done though. Being amazed at what they just heard, the ones listening say, "Wow, thanks for the info, I'm gonna try that out next time." Masaki then responds, "If all you had to do to become a good fighter was listen to something like that, then everybody would be good. You have to let it seep into your body or else it's impossible to do. And if you do manage to do it, you're either lucky or you're a genius," showing a panel of the kid and Masaki at the same time. Cutting back to Yagi, we can see him say, "Damn it, my face hurts," and the kid says, "I did it again, just like before, I didn't miss." Kid asks himself, "Was it a coincidence? No, I feel like I made it in better than I did before." He then asks himself, "Can I fight well now?" Yagi being angry, he tells the kid, "I'm gonna kill you when I see you again for thinking you can stand up to me all of a sudden." The kid being confused, he asks Yagi, "What do you mean? You're the one who messed with me, asking me for money." Yagi tells him to shut up, "I'm gonna kill you." The kid then responds screaming, "No, I'm allowed to be in this town too." And apparently in this town, there's a rumor going around that there's a thug hunting boxer. They say he's only been around for a month, but he's already gotten like 4 or 5 people so far. One of the guys Masaki is hanging around, he says it has nothing to do with what we're talking about now, but apparently they were all beaten in 1 or 2 hits. This piquing Masaki's interest, he wonders if the thug hunting boxer would be interested in targeting him. They ask Masaki, "Why did you stop boxing?" And he says, "No reason, it just seemed more fun to hang out on the streets." And apparently Yagi is running with Masaki's group, and after they see his face, Masaki asks to let me see. After Masaki makes a comment on how badly Yagi got beaten, Yagi tells him to shut up. "I thought he was just some loser, so I let my guard down, but the little shit must be practicing or something." The group starts to get excited, wondering if it was the thug hunting boxer. Masaki asks Yagi what type of guy was he, and Yagi says, "I'm not telling you, I'm taking him down the next time I see him." Being excited now, Masaki says, "Let's go find him, he should still be around, it can't be too hard to find somebody who fits the bill." Masaki thinking to himself, he says, "A boxer, huh? I bet you feel real hot because you took down that amateur, but I'll be sure to give you more fun. As the group is looking around, we cut to Masaki and he's thinking to himself again, I should be able to pick him out from the way he looks. He hasn't gone far, he's probably... And then he cuts himself short and he notices the kid Yagi was just fighting. He thinks back to what Yagi said about him thinking it was just some loser, so he grabs the kid. The kid nervously turning around, he asks, what is it? Masaki being sorry, he says, nah, there's no way, sorry, wrong person. The group meets back up and they ask Masaki, did you find him? And he responds, nah, he wasn't over there. The group begins talking, saying, it's too hard to look for a normal looking person. I thought we might be able to pick him out though. Masaki says most boxers look slimmer than they actually are, so he should be really thin. And then he thinks to himself, could it really have been the kid that he saw? The next day, we see the kid in class and he's thinking to himself, I feel like things won't end easy now since he beat up Yagi. Still thinking to himself, he says it's been 4 times since the last month. He's the one who bullied me, but I bet he remembers who I am. He's probably looking for me. He tells himself, but I have to keep resisting, otherwise I'll turn into a target again. And once I'm a target, it's all over. Unless I resist, I'll have nowhere else to go. I have to keep resisting or I won't be able to relax anywhere in this world. While he's walking around his school, he hears some students talking about the thug hunting boxer and if he really exists. Students talking among themselves, we hear them say he took out a guy from Sawaki and a guy from Daita. And apparently if you try to mess with him or extort him, he just goes crazy and attacks you. The students continue talking, saying the people who got beat are searching for him like crazy. And this is when we find out that the kid that we've been following around is the thug hunting boxer. As he keeps listening to the students talk, he overhears them say, I don't think it'll be too easy though. He's beaten most of his opponents with a single hit. And as the kid is thinking to himself, what should I do? I knew I was in big trouble. What's going on? One of the students calls him cool. Well, not him per se. They call the thug hunting boxer cool, but since he is the thug hunting boxer, it still resonates with him. He hears one of the students say, I'm gonna cheer him on from the shadows, he's the man. Another one says, yeah, I want him to clean up all the thugs. And we can see the kid thinking to himself, cool? What do they mean by cool? What could it be? The unrest and fear I felt hasn't left me, but a new emotion is rising above them all. An uplifting feeling. I felt higher than I ever been before. And we learn that the kid's name is Kamishiro. Later that night, Kamishiro decides to head back in town when he's stopped by 2 thugs. One of the thugs says, to think that you'll be waltzing around Shimokita like this, asking his partner, do you know who this is? And his partner responding, never seen him before. He tells him that this is the thug hunting boxer that everybody's been talking about and says, damn am I lucky. I can't believe the guy from the rumors turns out to be such a wuss. Kamishiro thinking to himself, I shouldn't have come out here after all. They're gonna kill me. He says, no, I have to resist or I won't be able to come back here either. And as the thug grabs him and is about to punch him, Kamishiro lands a left punch on him. Trying to move backwards so he can throw his right punch, he realizes that the thug still has a grip on his book bag. Tossing him against the wall, the thug begins punching him. The thug begins to get tired and feel the damages from the first punch that Kamishiro threw. Using the advantage, Kamishiro backs up and lands another left punch. Knocking him back with that punch, Kamishiro then decides to throw a fury of punches until the thug is literally begging him to stop. After this, Kamishiro decides to run away. As he's running away, he's thinking to himself, they know me, they know my face now, they're coming after me. How many people know my face? Are there a lot of them now? He starts getting paranoid as he's passing all these people and he thinks to himself again, why did I come here? What was I expecting? As he makes it to the stuffed animal stand, he says, I should have let them beat me up today. Now they'll come back for revenge. I'm so stupid. It's over now. I can't resist much longer. He says, I'm so scared of this town. I'm just so scared. And as he's thinking that to himself, a hand touches his shoulder. So from this point on, there will be spoilers, but I heavily recommend that you read Holyland. If you love stories about self-reflection and character growth, it is perfect for that. Kamishiro has become one of my favorite main characters in a manga. The character growth that he goes through and the understanding that he learns about himself resonates with me. And I love how what this series does about its character growth to me is it doesn't take the normal route of character growth where how you normally see in manga or anime where the main character or a side character, they get this character growth and they never seem to have any setback. But instead in this manga, the main character takes 10 steps forward and thinks he figures himself out just to take 10 steps backwards. And to me, that is just so real, and that's how actual human beings work. Sometimes we think we know it all, and sometimes we think we have everything figured out, when in reality we don't. This manga is a little older, but I still heavily recommend that you read it if you haven't. It changed the way I look at some things in life. So if those topics like character growth and character development and finding oneself interest you, I definitely recommend this for you. So with the spoiler warnings out the way, let's get into some of my favorite things about this manga while I was reading it. So from the very beginning, I could tell that Masaki was built up to be this fan favorite character. He had the looks, he had the charisma, he had the style, and he damn sure had the fighting ability. And I'll be honest, I wasn't that interested in his character in the earlier chapters of Holyland. It wasn't until they showed, I think, his backstory, which really got me interested in him, and seeing how he also went through struggle just like everybody else. Finally getting to see the reason that he quit boxing, seeing that they hinted at it so many times, people questioning on why he quit boxing or people questioning on how he got so good at fighting. Learning more about him and seeing his dynamic with Kamishiro grow and deepen really solidified that he's one of my favorite characters in this series, probably my second favorite, obviously my first being Kamishiro. They're both the same coin, just two different sides, both being shunned and outcasted just for two different reasons. Like I said before, Kamishiro is my favorite character by far. Whenever he was on the screen, I was never bored or never wanting to see another character. He was always willing to learn more about himself and get out of the situation that he was in, and I honestly think this is the best example you can give when talking about character development. Or I'll say this is the best example you can give in comparison to how humans actually develop. I hate reading a series where a character has to go through character development or character progression and the character has no form of regression, because that's not how actual people work. Making your character take 10 steps back after taking 10 steps forward makes it a whole lot more relatable for the reader. As most of you watching this video, we've all wanted to better ourselves mentally, or quote unquote had our own little character development, and we have all regressed or gone back to bad habits because it's just natural, it's human. Now I will say my only con with this series is King. I don't like the way he was handled at all. I don't think he should have been a fighter. I would have enjoyed the ending so much more. I would have enjoyed it so much more if the author took the route of smarts versus bronze. And I understand I really may be alone on this, but I feel like that would have added so much more uniqueness to the story. Like, we've seen so many different fighters throughout the series, all with unique styles, but we never really seen somebody use their brain to win a fight. Like, we've seen how King was hyped up to be this super smart person who really wasn't a fighter, and he was gonna beat them using mind games and tricks, but when it really came down to it, he was just a Japanese Kempo user. But with all that being said, this is definitely one of my favorite series I've read this year. Every series that y'all tell me to read just keeps getting better and better. Coming into Holyland, I had no idea that I would like it so much and it would have so many different entertaining characters, and I'm happy to say that it's found its way on my top 10 manga I've read of all time. I know this series is gonna stick with me just from the lessons and the things I learned while reading it, but if you've enjoyed today's video, make sure to leave a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And if you have any other manga that you want me to read, make sure you drop it down in the comment section below. I'll get around to it. I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.